Okay, we are back for the second hour after the break with the news. We are back to continue what we said before we ended the first hour. And the discussion was
Diabetes. Diabetes.
That's part of it.
Okay.
But listen, okay, the blame, apparently, the medical puts the blame on being overweight and obesity. Being obese causes diabetes. Well, as I started saying, a professor, let me see if I can read this name. Jussi Nokarinen. Okay. Got Jussi. That's interesting.
Oh, my
yeah,
God.
and I don't even know if it's a man or a woman. I don't know. It's from Finland, so I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, but
Careful how you read that.
It's spelled Naukkkarinen. Okay, is an MD and PhD at the University of Helsinki in Finland. And he did study on identical twins that obviously they're not that identical because one has to be skinny and the other obese. And how many can you find that fit that bill? I don't know. He found 16, which is already a large number. But anyway, his conclusion, okay, has been not true because they had some of the twins that had the obese was just as healthy as the skinny one. No any kind not any kind of liver problems, nothing, and no metabolic consequences from being obese. No difference, just as healthy as the skinny one. Well, then that to me totally destroyed the theory that you're obese and you have all this health problem and you get diabetes and all of that. That's ridiculous. You see, that tells you. But they, instead of admitting the medical, of course, instead of admitting the possibility that this is the case, no, what they do, they tear down the research. Or didn't have enough number. Oh, it wasn't large enough. Well, good luck on finding thousands of identical twins and thousands that have one is heavy and the other is obese. One is skinny and the other is obese. How many can you find? Not that many. But to me, 16 is already down the line of being an obvious proof. You know,
So what was he hoping to prove, Dr. Carpenter? Do you know?
He did prove that. Yeah, that there isn't really any connection between obesity.
Oh, I see. So he actually did prove that by selecting this.
In my opinion, he did prove, but of course, you know, in the U.S. they're trying to tear down his research because he didn't have enough people. Well, try to find more than he did as candidate for that research. But it's just his findings are just not right, and it's too generalized, and it's just a bunch of malarkey. Okay.
But what about the drugs, Dr. Carpenter?
Right, and nobody is admitting the fact that the drugs are the one that cause unless you're born with diabetes, is inherited or something. The one acquired is the drugs. I have discussed before, there are some drugs from different problem, heart problem, and other problems that cause diabetes. And drugs for diabetes that cause heart problems. So there is a connection there, but it's always turning around and churning around drugs. All the health problem we have today that don't even vaguely compare to the number of problems in 50, 60 years ago.
Well, you know what, Dr.
A lot more, yeah.
Spring, for the first time ever, since I've known you and I've been on this program, it's the first time I ever had a comprehensive tutorial on all the drugs and what the side effects are. And I've learned just from listening to you and hearing these actual facts that most of these drugs have side effects that are so serious and so deadly that they make the person get other diseases that are more serious than the one they took the drug for to begin with.
In the first place. Well, that's easy on TV, and people say, oh, I don't want to hear all that stuff. You need to hear it because it's the only occasion you'll hear. Like the famous Allegra, all of those with those exciting names, okay? Yes. And then the list of side effects is scary, and it's a lot worse than what you had to start with. All you had is allergy.
That's right. I've seen those commercials, too, because I don't watch TV, but at times when I've been at somebody's house and they had a TV, and I've seen a woman running through a field of flowers, right?
Right.
And then at the end, they have a sinister voice, and it's really fast. The tempo is really fast, and they give all these side effects. Ask your doctor if this product is right for you.
And what the doctor's going to say, oh, that's fine. And what about the side effects? Oh, they don't apply to you. They don't apply to your case. Like he's got it in the side.
Right.
Yeah. And just unbelievable. And the majority of all these new diseases, new names and all that, they're all linked to drugs. They all are. They all are the side effect of drugs. And let me explain something that I think I have clarified quite a bit in the past, but just to refresh everybody's memory. Keep in mind that these drugs are approved at by FDA. And they do that. Oh, FDA has approved this drug, approved by FDA. How does the FDA approve the product? Okay.
With a bag of money from a pharmaceutical company.
I wasn't even going to discuss.
But it's the truth, isn't it?
Absolutely. But by the research done by the manufacturer to prove to FDA that the product is safe. That's how they are approved, based on their research work. Not FDA, the manufacturer. Not only that, what do? Most cases, they use animal testing, okay? Before they can apply or can progress to the next stage, they cannot jump on human testing right off, which I will call guinea pigs. Human guinea pigs, but they cannot jump into that. They have to do either cell testing, which is non-damaging to the environment or the animals, or animal testing. Now, the in vitro testing, the one done on cell, are called in vitro testing because you can have this culture of cells and test it on those. Those have the problem that tells you, okay, the cell is actually destroyed by this drug, so it's safe to cure or treat whatever disease they were targeting, okay, whether it's diabetes or whatever else. And that doesn't tell you what other damage it causes to other cells. What's the damage? Not the way they do it. I'll discuss later that there is a way to do it if you're really a knowledgeable person, but that way you can't tell. Now, then they do the animal testing. And of course, to me, it's pretty hard to believe that a rat is a good example of human.
Well,
I mean, there are humans that are rats, but
that's true. But let me tell you this, Dr. Carpenter, okay? The reason I know about this is because for many years, I was involved in protesting against doing animal testing just because of the suffering to the animals. But one of the things that I learned, this was completely disconnected from whether it was workable or whether it produced actual results. And the truth is, as I learned, it doesn't. You cannot compare a rat or any other kind of lab animal to a human being. There's no connection to how.
I know if you use pigs, you probably could.
Maybe
pig is the closest one.
But they don't. Yeah. You don't normally.
No.
Okay, and so the point is that it's all this money wasted, plus
Absolutely.
the toll of torturing innocent animals for no reason, and it doesn't give results. It doesn't give results.
Right, but I mean, they use rats because it's hard to feel sorry for a rat. Okay. I mean, other animal is one thing. A rat is a rat.
But you know what? I feel sorry for any of them just because they can suffer. But still,
but the
point is,
real
it doesn't work. That's my point. It doesn't work. And it's
But
all
you
money
know
down.
also why it doesn't work? Because the other problem is, yes, you give it to a rat but you know how the testing works. They give it to a rat that you see if effects and the disease is reduced or is eliminated or whatever. Okay? And then they look at the animal if it has any other problem. But that is something that happens in the range of 2 weeks to a month at the most. And then what they do, what they call it is sacrifice the animal, okay? Which means they kill him off.
Yeah.
The one used in the testing. But then you cannot say, even though the animal is a bad example of human being, you cannot say whether there are long-term side effects that become obvious because you're killing the animal.
Like I said, even though I'm not a scientist, okay, but however, the reason I pursued these studies is because I wanted scientific answers for people, even though my purpose was to stop the torture in the animals. I still needed the scientific information to say, oh, by the way, it's not just that I don't want to see these animals tortured, it doesn't work, and here's why. And what you're saying confirms that. It's not a substitute for a human being, and once they kill the animal, there's no range of lifespan, okay? That's one thing. The other part is, no, how can they look for long-term side effects when there's no model left to search, right?
Right. They don't have any information on what comes after. How they get that information? By torturing human.
That's
okay?
Right.
They do the testing on human, and basically they know the one that participate to the human trials, they are bound to die. They just want to determine how much of that drug they can give them before they kill them, or how long they can last before they die.
Absolutely disgusting.
It's disgusting, and it's ignorant, and it's just ill devised. It's a bad idea. And by the way, if you're talking about the suffering about animals, when I was, that was Cameron University, where I quickly got my bachelor's so I could get a master's and so I could get a decent job, because they didn't want to recognize my European degree. So anyway, we went at the end of the year shortly before graduation, we went to Norman to see the weather center, because a severe storm center in Norman, Oklahoma. But they also had a lab we were doing type of testing, animal testing, and then we used these white rats that were perfect, okay? Perfect animals in perfect condition, and they were doing testing with them. Well, unfortunately for me, I didn't expect to be there when they did that. They did their testing at the end of that was for determining the toxicity of some plastic materials. They sacrificed the animals, and you know how they did it?
I don't think I want to know, Dr. Carpenter.
Well, you need to know, because it just it's like the prisoner of war in Nazi camp. Okay.
Oh God.
They gasped them, and you could see them gasping for it. It was horrible, and it didn't bother any of them, because they were doing that routinely, and I could not take it. Okay?
It's not just wrong, Dr. Carpenter.
It's horrible. I don't see how they can do anything. I mean, this is not a cockroach.
They're sentient creatures. They suffer. That's the problem. They suffer. So there's just no
Well, I'm sure cockroaches suffers too, but I don't want cockroaches around. So
well, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But I mean, you could see, it was horrible. And that's what they regularly do. And it doesn't tell you anything other than what they want to say. It only serves the purpose.
It's a useless suffering of a creature, and it doesn't do any good to anybody.
Well, then I could say the same thing about people.
Money. That's right. That's right, exactly.
It doesn't help anybody. It's just torturing a human being for nothing, because it's not going to kill anything. It's not going to free them. So, but anyway, I just wanted to mention these things and how when I try to stress out all the time the wording that some medication come or some product come with FDA approved means absolutely nothing. All it means is that everybody involved in the circle of approval has made a bundle of money.
That's right, Dr. Carpenter. And let me mention this, too, because I think it's really important that we bring this up. For those that don't know, is that one of the reasons that you developed your treatment that works so well, it prevents people from suffering. It not only kills the cancer, but it stops the suffering. And that was your sensitivity, which I could just hear when you were talking about, even with the rats, how horrible it was. Well, these are human beings, and people are being tortured to death by the so-called medical community and these drugs, and your treatment took that element completely out of the picture. There's no suffering.
No, actually there is, the only disease you get is euphoria.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're so happy that you escaped the cancer torture that, And so
well, it is torture. There's no doubt.
It is. It's nothing else but torture.
How many cases, I can't even tell you, I've witnessed in people that I've known and loved, I've witnessed the process of torture, and it ends in death. It's the same process for every person that I've ever seen. Got those.
And people keep going. What I don't understand is that people keep going. They keep going for that treatment. I don't understand that. They get killed. They get poisoned. They suffer tremendously. They get financially ruined, and then in the end, they still die. Okay, right. It might take a few months. It might take a few years, but they die, and not very well either. Oh, but they're comfortable, made comfortable with morphine. Yeah, resting comfortably, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that how many times? Resting comfortably. But guess what? They're not, because nobody goes. You know what? No, almost never do they want anybody in there at the hospice or whatever the place. Right. The morphine, they always, they don't want visitors. But then the other people, they're resting comfortably. Well, no, they're not. And that's why nobody goes in there. Nobody goes in there except for maybe the minister or the priest to give the last rite.
Right.
That's the only person that goes in there. Nobody else goes in, so they don't see what's really going on.
I know. It just, oh, gosh. Anyway, the other thing that I have against this whole is the ignorance of the medical establishment, okay, and anyone involved in healthcare research, okay? Because being a theoretical physicist, I can tell you, once you have a drug, you have the chemical composition. It's killing whatever problem, whatever disease cells you have or whatever. They should be able to theoretically predict the damage to the body. They should, if they knew anything, if they were in any way worth the title they're given. But the people in the medical have no capability of theoretical thinking. They are incapable of deductive reasoning. They are incapable of doing a scientific evaluation before they proceed to hurt human or animal. They should, with the chemical composition, know what that does, what that affects, and what other parts of the body have the same composition, the same structure. They can predict theoretically what would happen.
But they're not trained.
They're not even concerned. Yeah. I remember when I was trying to talk to this idiot about my treatment. Yeah, but what about the empirical? Empirical, nothing. Empirical is the confirmation. You have to have the theory in place first.
Well,
and then you can go for empirical for confirmation. But you have to have, if you have no theory, throwing things together, not even cooking can do that. Even cooking has a theoretical base on what you do.
And it would apply to just about anything that's logical or scientific. Anything.
I know. It's just ridiculous. Do they do that? Oh, no, we'll throw things together and we'll see. It's just the same that happened with the superconductivity. They were not handling correctly. You can predict it theoretically. I'm not saying that it's easy. You have to be one hell of a physicist, but it can be done. And they don't do it. They were throwing things together. That's why they
said many times that these doctors, MDs, are not scientists.
No, they're not. They call themselves scientists. They're not. They are just glorified technicians. They learn how to do certain things in a certain way, and if you present to them something a little bit different that is not part of their black box, that's it. They're lost. They have no idea. Some are liars and understand what it is that you're doing and what you're trying to change, but some are so stupid and ignorant that there is no way. That's why it could be either dishonesty or ignorance, or both. Okay, and that really is infuriating because they are hurting everybody.
Well, they are, Dr. Carpenter, and not only that, but we talked about on a previous program how some of these doctors don't even do an examination of the patient.
Yeah, well, that's just
that's outrageous.
I know, just to limit. And I'm telling you, I hear of cases every day. Instead of getting into this expensive testing, MRI, PET scan, CT scan, all they need an ultrasound and an examination, and they could figure out what's going on. Are they doing it? Of course not.
We're about to run out of time.
Okay, we are close to the end, and then after with the second hour, have more. It's not attack on the medical; it's evidence of their misbehavior.
Free speech guaranteed. You're listening to the Orion Talk Radio Network.
Since 9/11, the people of the United States have sadly witnessed the largest transformation in our nation's history. And since then, we've collectively been terrorized over and over again by flag-waving politicians and the corporate news media. We've been sold a nebulous, never-ending war on terror. We've been psychologically conditioned with fear through repeated, endless warnings. A Patriot Act that threatens our democracy. A Military Commissions Act that disregards our Bill of Rights. A homegrown terrorism act that makes us all a threat. And an oppressive fascist state before you know it. Have you ever asked yourself, of all the government failures on 9/11, how is it that our politicians made us pay the price? Don't buy the lie. We're Americans, and we don't give up our Constitution to anyone, terrorists or politicians. We fought wars just to have these rights, and at Orion Talk Radio, we're damn well gonna fight to keep them.
Okay, we are back from the last break of this show today, and we even during the break we were talking about cruelty to animals for testing, for money, and apparently Barbara was involved in that years ago.
Well, wait a minute. I was involved in the protest, right?
Well, yes, she was involved, not in doing the testing, but in trying to
in the protest. Yeah, I got arrested.
That, which I think is being stopped except for rats.
I hope so. Well, what I was saying is there was a company, and they're still out there. And I did remember the name of the bastard, as I call him. Leon Hirsch is his name. And groups that I was involved with, just for humane treatment of animals. We went out and protested this U.S. Surgical. They were using, they make those staples for surgery, okay? Yeah. Rather than I don't know too much about that technology, but I do know that U.S. Surgical was using dogs, okay, as guinea pigs in these labs. And not only were they using the dogs, but the dogs would scream. Any animal would scream, okay, when they have this horrific torture being done to them. They would cut the vocal cords of the dogs. In other words, they didn't care about the suffering and the pain. They'd cut the vocal cords to stop the screaming. And not only that, but they had these gangsters, I can only call them thugs, that went around in vans. They were called bunchers. And the bunchers would literally steal people's pets from a yard or a stray dog or something, any place they could get them. and they would just take them in these vans and dump them at all these different research facilities, including U.S. Surgical. And this bastard named Leon Hirsch, guess what? He was making big bucks. U.S. Surgical and all these companies, guess who they're connected to? FDA, the medical mafia, the pharmaceutical companies. They're all in it together. Yeah. They're all in the club, and it's all about suffering. They don't care who suffers, whether it's a human being or an innocent animal, somebody's pet snatched from a yard. These bastards go out, and all they care about is the almighty dollar, that they can use whatever animals that they can find, stealing them, making them suffer, torturing them, and then they make their big bucks, and they're all in it together. This is the medical community, otherwise known as the medical conspiracy of criminals.
But what you described, it was done to animals, but how is that different than giving them chemo? It's not.
It's not.
And what I've always, it's the same thing. And what I always wondered was, how can a doctor has this person coming into his office and, okay, the person has cancer. How can the doctor, with a smiley face, say that they can fix that and prescribe them chemo when they know what chemo does to a person?
Exactly, but it's the mentality. That was my point. It's the mentality that they have no concern whatsoever for human life, animal life, anybody's life.
Yeah, okay, the not caring is the going, basically, principle that dictates everything they do. Not caring of anything concerning the patient, only caring about the bottom line, the money they can make. And
That's right, Dr. Carpenter. It's the mentality, as we said. It's the mentality that they have no compassion whatsoever. They have no compassion for the animals they torture in these laboratories, and they have certainly no compassion for the human beings that are being radiated and toxic drugged to death. They have no compassion, period.
But it's all not just compassion. I mean, come on. It's what happened if the tables are turned and they are treated that way? People, the principal treat the others like you would want to be treated. And, I mean, it's always possible. That's what I always said, what's going to happen when Jeremy Bain he's going to face, either directly or through a family member, is facing what happens in the system that he supported.
But but you know what, Dr. Carpenter, these people, as far as I can see, they don't have a moral compass. They don't have a conscience. How could they not?
Yeah, but that's stupidity too. It's not just a lack of conscience. It's stupidity also.
It is. There's no doubt.
Because he's not a member of the medical. So member of the medical can find a way to weasel out and do something else, maybe.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He doesn't have anything except what he has supported. And that means death. So I just don't understand the mentality, okay?
No, I don't either, Dr. Carpenter. That's why I have fought against it. The whole mentality of anybody that would torture or do harm to anyone, I don't care who it is. If you're doing that, there's something wrong with that. And
that's not even the excuse of a war enemy or something. That is just your own country, your own people that are in trouble and need help. It's just unbelievable.
Yes, it is. It is unbelievable to me. I don't see how they can live with themselves or look themselves in a mirror. I really don't.
I really don't see that. I mean, this person is alive. It might not be totally well. They might have some health problem, but he's alive and walking and moving and functioning. And then you get into the issue as a doctor that is supposed to help, and you kill the person, and there you have it. Somebody dead that was alive. How can you do that? Be responsible for that. I guess what they do is they find the cover-up excuses to say, oh, no, it wasn't my fault. It was the disease,
Yeah.
Not me. Yeah.
He had the old phrase, he lost his battle with
against cancer.
There is no battle against cancer.
It's
the
a battle against cancer
treatment.
Absolutely.
Standard treatment. Yeah.
I know, because even when they go to an alternative treatment and they say, oh, they're battling cancer all these years. No, they are not, because if it takes years to fix it and you don't fix it anyway, that means it's the wrong approach. That means it's not a solution. That means it's not a treatment, a valid treatment is nothing. If it goes on and on for years and then in the end the person died. That is not a treatment. That is not a...
Yeah, you've mentioned that over and over. It's not just on one hand, the medical cartel and their methods, but on the other hand, it's the quacks. It's the quacks and the alternative treatments. And remember the guy? I don't remember his name, but he was on some radio show with you, and he was talking about the what is it? Oh, the B-17, science.
Yeah.
Oh, it only targets the cancer. Yeah, right. Sure.
Oh, there are many cures to cancer, and there is something wrong with her. Now, that's why nobody wants to deal with her, because she says that hers is the only way. So I am bad. Do I deliver? Yes. So how could that be bad? Yeah. But then the other people say, oh, but other patient died. Oh, these people live, they're doing well, but other patient died. Yes. And what's the difference between the one that are doing well and the one that died? They went back for chemo.
That's right. That's exactly
After
right.
my treatment, they went back for chemo. That's how they died. They died of chemo like everybody does. But it's all revolving around money and what the money that the medical can make. There is an article dated yesterday on drug.com that says, get this, radiation therapy overused in advanced prostate cancer. So they have a study that came to the conclusion that radiation is overused in advanced prostate cancer. Now, if you read the article, it's not about the prostate cancer and curing the prostate cancer. It's about the fact that it's advanced prostate cancer that went to the bone, and because it went to the bone, people are in pain. So they want to stop the pain, and they use radiation to stop the pain. Well, of course, it can mess up the nerves so you don't feel anything. But let me point out something people don't seem to understand. The so-called advanced prostate cancer that, quote, metastasized to the bone has a reverse side of the story, not the story given you to the medical. If they use radiation to hit the prostate to kill the cancer. Okay? Well, that causes bone cancer. That is the radiation given to treat prostate cancer that causes bone cancer. It's not a metastasis of advanced prostate cancer.
So in other words, it's another example of the treatment causing worse symptoms and worse disease than you had it or whatever it was.
Absolutely. Yeah, because prostate cancer is really slow to develop. If you left it alone, the patient will be living the life throughout and then die with prostate cancer, or die of something else with prostate cancer. But the thing is that they use radiation, and radiation causes cancer, mostly of the bone. And in this case, it's bone cancer produced by the radiation given as treatment. And then what do? Of course, they have bone cancer. The cancer on the bone is very painful. What do? They use radiation to stop the pain.
To stop the pain.
If it wasn't so tragic, it would be funny.
Yeah,
okay?
It is tragic, though, Dr. Carpenter. Again, it's the mentality. It's this mentality, this overarching mentality of, I honestly don't know. The one thing I believe I know is that all they care about is the money, okay?
Well, and this article actually confirms it, because the study done came to the conclusion that what they call it, they don't call it session, they call it fraction, okay? But it's basically a session. One session, or fraction as they call, because the medical has always ridiculous name that don't necessarily fit the case. One, it's enough to stop the pain, okay, or what they caused in the first place. One. But the study established that most of the patients for pain control are given more, 10 treatments or more, 10 fractions or more.
10 when one would suffice? Is that
Right. To stop the pain, one suffice, except in extreme cases. One suffice.
So what's the additional, according to these people, what does the additional 9 treatments or sessions?
Because they say that's how you stop the pain. But now they have done some evaluation. And the study have established that there is no difference between 1 and 10. But there is a difference. Well, a few differences. You're causing additional cancer with 10 fraction of treatment. Are we kidding here? It's the radiation that has caused the problem, the bone metastasis, and we are using radiation to stop the pain that they caused. But then they're using too many. 1 would be enough. They're using 10. So you want to make sure that the person keeps spreading the bone cancer. I mean, come on.
I really don't get it, Dr. Carpenter. I mean, how could they not know? I mean, how could they not?
And that's what this person is, a doctor, but she was not involved in any of the studies. She just looked at the results, and she said, "How could they do? 1 is proven to be enough, but they give him 10 or more." And she said, I looked into it, and the only explanation is more money. There is no other reason that could possibly come up. Only the financial motivation, nothing else.
Especially knowing that they're making things worse.
Well, they don't admit to it, though. They don't admit that the bone cancer is caused by radiation. It is, but they don't admit to it. And they say, well, we took care of that, but then there is a metastasis to the bone, and then we are taking care. And by the way, it's not going to save the life. And this person said, no, this treatment has this fraction of radiation treatment, that has no connection with saving the life, with survival. That is not an issue. So it's not done to save the life or to treat the bone metastasis. It's only done to control the pain. And 1 is enough, but they use 10. So it's not that they are improving the survival by using 10 instead of 1. So the only conclusion is that it's done for money. Only financial motivation to go from instead of 1 using 10. There is no other explanation.
That's something that I can never understand. I'm sorry, but I cannot understand that, how they can do that.
I don't know how they can do the things they do with the excuse that they are doctor and they are the expert. But what I'm just saying, if you were wondering what's in most cases is the motivation of anything they do, here it is in this article.
It appears to be true, Dr. Carpenter, just like we mentioned earlier, that everything that they're doing, and they don't care who suffers, who dies, they don't care about any kind of torturing animals or people, as long as they make the money, they don't give a damn.
And that's one other thing about the Obamacare. They don't want anybody looking over on what they charge and what they do. They don't want anybody. I'm not saying that the Obamacare is perfect, okay? Because it's basically nothing more than a Ponzi scheme. But what I'm saying is they're fighting it because they don't want anybody overlooking what they do. Okay? They don't want it. And anybody that seems to come to a conclusion or a solution of the problem has to be terminated one way or another, because this is not allowed. All the diseases have to be permanent. It's just awful. Actually, there is another article, they did the same day on something else, and it's about multiple sclerosis, okay? Apparently, this doctor in Italy, the name Paolo Zamboni is the name. The American might read it Zamboni, but in Italian it's Zamboni. It's not an S, it's a Z. From the University of Ferrara in Italy. Okay, and that's another thing that is hard for Americans to understand. The university in Italy is run by the government. It's a government, like elementary school, middle school, high school. University is also government. So what is the name of university you went to? It's a state. It's a government. The only distinguished factor is the city where it is. Okay. That's an answer to all the jerk, like, the hillbilly attorney that bugged me about the lawsuit and everybody else, FDA, what's his face, Jeremy Bain, everybody.
Jeremy Bain.
Yeah, Jeremy Bain.
May his name live in infamy in eternity.
Yeah, they're all together because they all work together. But anyway, so Paolo Zamboni is at university in the city of Ferrara, and he suspected that the multiple sclerosis could have been caused by vein draining the brain and the spinal cord because the vein were congested or blocked, and assumed that was the case for multiple sclerosis. Any device surgery that can widen the veins and remove the blockage and to help the situation. And apparently from his result, he has helped some people, but that making multiple sclerosis not a permanent disease and not a...
So in other words, this person was using a medical procedure, not a drug?
No, not a drug, just a surgery.
Drug. Just a surgery, okay.
Yeah, and apparently he was having good results, but the American medical evaluating what he was doing decided, no, that doesn't work, it's not valid. The theory is wrong and it's not valid. Same old story. There is a possibility.
It was basically a vascular type condition, right?
That basically restricting the amount of blood that gets to the brain, and it causes those problems. And it's more
logical. It makes sense to me listening to it. It's logical, right?
It's logical, makes sense, is more than likely valid, but it doesn't use any drugs. It's just surgery.
That's the problem for these idiots that have to step in and say it's no good, right? No drugs.
And they call it controversial treatment.
Oh, it's controversial because we don't have any drugs.
Okay, listen, when they use the drugs might or might not work. They still use them, don't they? They're not saying, oh, this drug is worthless. And even if it hurts the person, but it might help a few people, so we're going to keep it on. And this one, it might help a few people? No. This is not valid. This is not acceptable. Because he used the theory. See, this is an MD, but he's in Italy. He used theory to do what he's doing. Oh, no, that cannot be. It has to be thrown out of the window. That has to be not valid, deemed not valid, and not used. Because it doesn't use any drugs, and it doesn't make it a chronic disease, and it doesn't help the bottom line of drug companies. It's just unbelievable, but that's exactly what
that's the word that came up before, chronic, right?
Yeah.
It has to be
that's what the happiness, it means happiness for the medical establishment, chronic. That's what they're seeking. And that's what they're trying to make cancer a chronic disease. You can't make cancer a chronic disease, and it's not chronic. Okay? But anyway, and now, it's just, I don't know, it's really infuriating. What can we do to stop it? We can stop believing anything that the people with the white coat, the physician, they are the expert. We can stop believing what they say. Because every time they come up with something, it's just something that, it's not real theory, it's just clear out of the blue and see if that works. And it is usually a drug.
It just sounds like a hit and miss, let's try this.
Okay, I wanted to finish this issue, but we have run out of time, so I have to say goodbye for this week, and we'll be back next week, hopefully with something we can finish.